Most of us never learned how to train our brains, which is why most of us needlessly settle, struggle, and worse, suffer. My name is Chris Doris, and I want to make brain training mainstream. This is my series, Tough Talks, Conversations on Mental Toughness. I'm interviewing badasses from all walks of life on what mental toughness means to them and their unique approaches to strengthening their minds. Hey everybody, welcome back to Tough Talks with Chris Doris. I have on the line today Chuck Bushbeck, who I was recently introduced to through a high school classmate of mine, Marie Runoya Alonso. And I'm really glad that she did, because Chuck, you and I got to meet a couple weeks ago when I happened to be coming back, and just you made time last minute, which I totally appreciate, because I was coming back for the Eagles Cardinals game. Go Birds. Go Birds. Yeah. Now, hey, everybody, I got to interrupt the introduction. Just listen to this guy's voice. Okay, my voice is going to change. I know it, because I'm talking. That is Philly right there. Nobody gets more Philly than this guy. Pennsylvania. From good old Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's so brilliant. If you don't follow the National Football League, Carson Wentz is the name of our quarterback, and he's playing lights out this year, like unprecedentedly amazing. So everyone is calling Pennsylvania Pennsylvania now, and that's what Chuck's referencing. Chuck was born and raised in Philadelphia. You played football at Villanova until they shut the program down. Then you went to East Carolina University and kept kicking there. And you played some pro ball. All right, You have some really interesting stories about that. You obviously are an athlete, a life coach, an inspirational speaker. You scout for the Angels, right? Right. In Major League Baseball. So you're all over sports. You got your own TV show called Backstory. You host a radio show as well. You are actually coming out in February. Your book is coming out, Quiet Toughness, and then the movie of the same name, maybe around April of 2018.
Yeah. The title may change a little. Okay. But the author of the book, who's helping me out with this, said, use until the book is totally written. We hold judgment on the title, but as of right now, that is the working title.
And why is that the working title, Quiet Toughness?
That's the premise of what I do everything with. As far as when I do coaching with people, working with my players, scouting, whatever, quiet toughness is the key link to what I guess you would call mental toughness. We just maybe approach it differently.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit. You have some really interesting stories, and you also get into, on your website, which, by the way, and I'll repeat this later on, your website address is it's your last name, Bushbeck, but then S. So it's like Bushbeck's Red Ops. What? Correct.
Yeah, no apostrophe on Bushbeck's RedOps.com.
Yeah, and it's a pretty interesting website. There's some cool stuff on there. What I want to go to straight away is you talk about frequencies. You're talking about different people. You're talking about vibrations, okay? Now, so this is a conversation that you and I had, right? We're sitting there at the hotel lobby in Philly a couple weeks ago, having breakfast, and I love this conversation. But if people are eavesdropping, they might think, what are these weirdos talking about? All right? We're talking about vibes. We're talking about woo-woo. All right, well, you use this professionally. I mean, you're an athlete, okay? And you're using... So let's just talk a little bit about that. What does that mean? Each person has their own frequency or vibration, and that either attracts or repels what it is that they want, or has them suffer or struggle or excel. So what is this all about?
Yeah, well, the word vibe, you walk into a room and people say, hey, I got bad vibes, or I meet someone and I got good vibes, whatever. I mean, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the vibration of the person, the room, the environment, whatever. What's happening now through my studies, and I've done 40 years of behavioral studies and research and hands-on application from individuals who have had major chronic schizophrenia to manic depression to working with millionaires and billionaires. So I've seen all the different types of people that you would run into in life. Yeah. And they all have a similar, as far as vibration, is explaining it in a way that some resonate higher than others. All you have to do is listen to, say, a millionaire compared to someone who is not doing so well, and you'll find out right away by the way they talk, they have a different vibration. There's no secret to it. It's just that our modern science now is coming into view, where the old science kind of said that's kind of, and we talked about this word and like spooky science, but now the new science coming into the field, and that is guys that are doing stem cell research and cell biology and neurology and heart energy. They're realizing that this is science too. It's not so much what we would call spirituality. There's a science behind why people create and why they draw things to them and why they don't.
So there is a device. You and I have very, very, very similar backgrounds, which I didn't know until we got to talking when we met. That we both started in social work.
We have the same vibration.
Vibing, baby. So on many levels, and I started working in Atlantic City with chronic schizophrenics.
Right.
And you're working on the streets of Philly with chronic schizophrenics, which is pretty interesting. And that's, so this is something I don't think we did talk about, but I think about this all the time. I gave a talk last Saturday to a group of physical trainers, and I was talking about how we actually have the ability to manipulate the chemicals that we create in our minds, which neurotransmitters we release, like dopamine and serotonin, which are the good ones, right, which activate all intelligence centers of the brain. And that's all governed by how we think. And if we think correctly, then we could get ourselves off of antidepressants. And I got some real hard pushback on that. It was hardcore. It was one of the craziest talk I've ever given. It actually got aggressive. It was weird. And it was cool, though. There's going to be some great learning in that. I got totally defensive. I got totally defensive.
I'm digging my heels in right now.
But it was interesting, right? Because my vibe went down because I got threatened because someone was challenging me tremendously aggressively. So it was pretty ironic because the person was challenging what I was saying, which is that if we can, in your language, really increase our vibration by upgrading the content of our minds, then we're literally healing ourselves. Right? That I don't need to pay pharmaceutical companies all this money to take these medications that also need side effect medications and all that crap. Right? That it is in fact possible. And I think I thought that was kind of general knowledge, right? But I was getting
There's a stipulation here, though. When you do talk about that, and I have 5 tools, and the first one is everything is energy. Everything in our world is energy. The way we think, the furniture we sit on, whatever. The second part of that, though, in that energy, there's information, there's wisdom. And medication can work on an individual who does not have the information in order to heal themselves. And that's where medicine does a great job. It takes the environment that the person's in and his mindset or her mindset, treats the symptom, and they sometimes come away feeling better, and that's great. What I do is I work with individuals to want to get the information, not just, I don't want to motivate your ass and get you moving and not give you the tools to work with. So I download, or at least I try to download to you what you need to know about yourself and who you are in this world. Because Chris, I'll tell you, people go to school for a master's class and they spend thousands and thousands of dollars. The fact that you're in this world, you are in a master's class. That doesn't get more masters than what you're living right now. There are so many things that come at you that you have to deal with. What do we do this? Why am I this way? When you have the understanding of who you are, and that's that informative side, that wisdom side, you change your life on a dime, and then the medicine isn't so prevalent as you changing who you are by healing yourself.
You have, speaking of healing yourself, you got a story.
I do.
Yeah. And I'd love to hear it.
If I tell the whole story, I'll try to shorten it.
Let's give it, all right, give us however you want to do it. Because this is a big deal.
Well, back in '81, I was All-American in football, and going to the NFL, and I got sick. I had cancer, Hodgkin's disease, and they threatened to shut me down, and I argued with them, and I won, basically, to cut it short. I can expand that out for 20 hours, how that all went down, but so I played through it, I eventually got and was signed to a contract in the United States Football League, the
Yep.
USFL, the Memphis Showboats, and those guys back then were Jim Kelly, Herschel Walker, Steve Young. So we had a lot of talent in that league. And moving forward to today, when my arteries had, well, first of all, my valve stopped working in my heart, my aortic valve. And basically the doctor says the reason that happened is because the way you were treated back then with mantle radiation.
Wow.
I said, okay. So I took it, whatever. So I have this titanium valve in me that's allowing me, to keep living. And so I went along, and then recently my arteries started to clog, 2 arteries, and they were both on the heart wall. And we, at the hospital, it was a dangerous surgery, and I don't want to go into tons of it, but they just did a miraculous job at the University of Pennsylvania, first of all, just top shelf people. So they did this incredible surgery, which they never did before, and they cleared out the arteries and put 2 stents in. Long story short, those stents kept clogging. There was no other option at this point other than a special procedure that was done in Washington. And when I went there for the special procedure, they said it's interesting that only one of your stents is clogged and the other one isn't, and that's kind of rare. That doesn't happen. Usually if one clogs, the other one clogs. So I said, and in my mind, right before that, I had gone to a neurological seminar with Joe Dispenza, who's one of the leading neurologists on tour.
Joe Dispenza?
Joe Dispenza,
Dr.
yeah.
Joe, right?
Dr. Joe, correct. And so it was well worth the money, because I thought at that time, the work I was doing, which he talks about, I believe at that point, that's why one of my stents was clogged. I said, it's working. I can feel it working. And then when I went back to Penn in April of this year, they were both stone cold normal. And I feel great today. And I know for a fact I was on a donor, wasn't quite on the donor list yet for a new heart, because that's the only way we're getting around this. And I chose not to do that because I didn't believe in it. And I am not saying that you should not get a new heart if you think you need one. But for me, it wasn't the answer, and I've learned how to train my mind to change the chemistry that my brain produces through my body, which is not allowing the stress hormone cortisol to build up in my body, which are saying now scientifically is the reason why 99% of the people are in the hospital or sick.
Because of the stress hormone cortisol.
Well, the stress hormone itself, there's changes in the brain. They use the word cortisol. I think they made reference to people that have a hard time that are losing weight, and cortisol is one of the major culprits here. But what happens is, and if you look at the cell research and the neuroscience with Joe's work, you'll see how the brain actually changes the chemistry. Your thoughts change the chemistry in the brain, which produces different proteins, and in my case, which is not allowing the stents to clog anymore.
Let's talk some specifics about that.
And medically.
What did you do? Now, you told me when you told, okay, so I want to hear a couple things from you. One,
yeah.
What did you do? What did you start doing differently after your workshop with Dr. Joe?
Yeah.
And what were the doctor's reactions?
Well, the first what I started to do was, I already had our background in this field, obviously, in the where we're helping people, schizophrenics, child welfare, and that type of thing. So I already had 40 years of behavioral health experience. But there was something I was missing, and I'm not sure if it came from my unconscious mind, but he dealt with that a little bit.
Okay.
And there could have been a thought that was just never dealt with in my subconscious mind. So what I started to do, and I call it red ops today, we heard the name black ops. You know what black ops is. It's kind of like a secret intelligence. So this is a little secret intelligence that I have, in which I use the term quiet toughness. I close my mind, I close my eyes, and I get rid of all distractions. And I go in there, and I change my thoughts around to produce the results that I'm looking for. So for instance, in this particular case, the fact that my arteries were clogged or my heart was, not in good shape, basically they said I need a new heart. What I would do in my mind is produce the picture and then follow it with the emotion, which causes a feeling that the heart, the body itself, is already healed. And as I stayed with that thought over and over again, I trusted in what, quantum physicists are calling now the field. Some people call it God, you can call it whatever you want to. In the zone, athletes call it. But I trusted in that field, and the results are self-evident. And you can do this, and this is what I do with the athletes now. I teach them to use their mind, and with other people too, but mostly athletes, how to change the way they think so that they can produce the outcome in their lives that they're looking for.
So you were using a specific mental technique.
Correct.
After you had your experience where you went to this workshop with Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I definitely encourage everyone listening to look up because that dude's a badass.
Then you down.
Right. You know him, right?
Not personally. I mean, just
okay.
from.
I thought you guys.
Yeah.
I thought he was part of your posse. I thought you guys were besties.
We're kind of in the same neighborhood.
You and Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton and Dr. Joe, you all hang. You know it. Yeah. These are your boys.
They're my lawyers, or I guess what lawyers would do to bring experts into the courtroom. They're my scientific experts that back me up with what I'm doing. Book coming out.
Well, okay. So, but joking aside, Dr. Joe's workshop changed your life.
Yeah.
So,
now I said that it's energy and information. Remember those two pieces, okay?
Energy and information.
If you're missing one, either you don't have anything to kick you in the ass to get moving, okay, or you don't have the information that you need to be wealthy, to have a relationship, whatever it may be. You're missing part of that. So Joe, what he did, he filled in the piece of the puzzle that I didn't have, the information part. He showed me how my brain reacted under duress and what it looked like when it was in a calm state. And that has made all the difference. I had the energy that I wanted to live. There was no question about it. I didn't want to die. I was ready to, because I did not want a new heart. I did not want my body to reject it and all the drugs you go on. I didn't want to live that way. So I made a decision that I was going to spend the money, go down, see this dude, and get the information that for some reason I didn't have. And when he said it, and I did have a background in it, like I said, but he hit on something that just kicked me into another gear. It was an aha moment. I got it, and I understand that it's my thinking that helped, that did not support the medicine I was taking. Why the stenosis was clogging the stent. And when I changed the proteins in my brain, the stenosis no longer formed. And that's the only thing that I have done different since being on this medication and being seen at University of Penn.
You changed the way you were using your mind, and then that changed your heart's health. What do your doctors have to say about that?
Well, I go back in November for the big test, but she was kind of surprised, like, dude, you're stone cold normal. Like, so we're gonna come back in 6 months.
And people from Philly don't normally get that sort of compliment. Stone cold normal? So that's exceptionally good news.
I think you expected me to say, hey, let's go put you on the donor option list and let's sit around for 3 days and see if we get a call from somebody that has a heart ready to go for you. So we need you sitting around.
Let's get. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So is your doctor? Is she surprised?
She's a tough cookie. I think she's great. I love her. I don't think she's necessarily. She knows me, and she knows I'm an athlete. And sometimes my mindset is get around it, go through it, do whatever you got to do. And when I went in there to have my stents cleared out, they were 99% clogged, and they were like, "What are you still doing on your feet?" you know.
Oh,
and I just had a
right.
will that I would
Right.
keep going, and so she doesn't trust my instinct necessarily. She thinks there's always something going on, and I'm just blowing by it, just as I normally casually would as an athlete. But no, it's a lot different. And that, I think that's part of the thing here that's important. As an athlete, you're taught to get around it, to get through it, pull yourself up, deal with it, bleed a little bit. It's okay.
Yeah. But
And
your belief though is that that because of the actual practice that you started doing,
yes,
you say you changed the proteins in your mind, in your brain. You
the
changed.
way the brain changed the proteins and how it produces those chemicals.
And then that changed the clog in your heart. That changed the chemistry. So now this is where we got to get super practical for people listening.
You got it.
For all sorts of different reasons, right? So some people that are listening, maybe they have a heart condition, and they're like, well, this is really interesting. Could you please give me a little bit more specifics about what I could do? Or for any other reason, so maybe we have some aspiring Major League Baseball players listening right now, and they're thinking, okay, I don't need to heal my heart, I need to strengthen my game. But so, what's the practice? How do I become a master, the chemist?
Well, here's what I want to prelude this to.
Okay.
The science that we've been taught and are still being taught in school, well-meaning teachers, but the curriculum needs to change. The new science is showing us the old science is not the actual science of how things work in the world anymore.
Okay.
And now this is cutting edge. So on your program, we're talking cutting edge science that we have not.
That's what we do here. That's what we do here. We are cutting edge. Tough talks.
This is happening, and I have the scientific data to back this up too, with the people that you just mentioned in cell biology and neurochemistry and heart science and things like that. So there are 5 tools which I talk about. And we talked about the first one, which is energy and information. And you have to have these 5 tools. These are really important. Energy is whatever you choose to do in your life, whatever you choose to think. Every thought is energy. And we have learned to measure thoughts, actually. But the big thing in here is the science behind how to achieve, how to heal yourself. This is all cutting edge, Chris. So when you have those 2 factors in the direction that you're going, let's say it is sports or health, I give you the information you need to think about, and it's your energy, and this is where we go into the second part. It's called inspired action, okay? We can call it your vision for your life, but if you really want to succeed, if you want to get something done, it has to come from inspired action, because a lot of times if it's just, like I said, if I motivate your ass to get moving, and you're in a situation, it gets tough, and you're not inspired, I just motivated you a little bit, you're going to fall apart. Somewhere along the line, it's going to get tough, and if you don't have the mindset already created, you're not going to make it through it. So inspired action is the second one, and I teach you how to get there. The third one is you're moving your physical body through reality. All right, you're taking the first 2 tools and you're using the inspired vision, the energy that your body can produce, and the wisdom of what you know to create the environment around you that you want to see, whether it be your health, whether it be playing Major League Baseball, whether it be being a doctor, it could be anything. Those 2 tools with the physical action of, you got to go to, you want to be a doctor, you go take your boards and, you move the physical body. But because you have inspired action, the things you run into are not as difficult to handle. They're difficult, but you're so inspired, you get past them. Okay. So that's a really big part, inspired. The fourth is what we all run into, and that's the contrast in life. We're always dealing with obstacles. Whether you're an athlete, whether your health is failing, whatever it may be, you're dealing with a relationship issue, you're dealing with obstacles. And what I do is I teach you how to handle the obstacle appropriately so you don't change your energy in a way that's going to give you a result that you don't want when you run into that obstacle. Okay, and the fifth one, and I'm cutting through these just so we can lay the groundwork. The fifth one is you're allowing your greatness, and this spins off your obstacle. you're allowing your greatness. And we so much sabotage ourselves with our thoughts. We view our environment as an impossibility that we can't get through. And I teach you to allow these other 4 tools to work in your life. And when you do that, you allow what we would call negative circumstances in your environment to let them just be the way they are. No judgment, nothing from you. You stay on track on where you want to go, and those frequencies, those similar vibrations cannot find you.
Can we go back just for a second to
Sure.
the practice that, and I don't know if I heard you say a name for it today, but I'm pretty sure you had a name for it when we visited live a few weeks ago. The actual practice, was it meditation?
You know, I deal with athletes all the time. They don't want to hear the word meditate. You can call it that, I guess. I call it, you know, mindfulness, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
But get to that place you need to be to create with, you know, what we call your higher self.
Do you teach people that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's a big part of the information
Why?
you need to have to make
right.
your life.
Okay. So why do you think it's true still that athletes don't want to hear the term meditation? Although you could use that terminology with me in description of the exact same thing, right?
The
right?
teacher knows the student. Teacher knows the student. And
okay.
guys are stuck in a physical dimension. You know, when you step on the mound, you step on the football field, and you got 300 pounds coming at you. You're not thinking meditation thoughts. You're thinking, I got to deal with this right now. And the Black Ops program is meant to do when you're not in that situation. Because once you're in that situation, you got to throw the script away. You know, you are where you are, and you know, good luck with that. You know, if you have you're going to get run over. So you have better done your work on the sideline.
Well, that's it. That's the point. The work. You better have done your work off the field. So that you're prepared on the field, and so maybe our culture has yet to warm up to certain terminology because meditation still sounds too weird and Sedona-ish, and too fringy, and with crystals and incense and all Om and all this.
Loincloths, and they're going blah blah blah, you know, and like that doesn't work here in the West. So we get real with it, you know, and we go at it a different way. I talk the language that they talk because I've been there, but I teach them how to work smarter, not harder. And the smarter makes all the difference in how far you get in your life.
Let's talk for a minute about epigenetics.
Okay.
You're a big fan. I referenced, well, Bruce Lipton. Here it is. I mean, there's only a handful of books that I keep on my desk, and here's one of them.
Yeah.
I think you're familiar with this one.
I am.
So let's talk about Uncle Bruce. I like to call him Uncle Bruce. I don't know why. He just looks and sounds like somebody you want as an uncle.
He's part of our gang.
He's part of the posse for sure. For shizzle. So talk to me about Bruce. And what do you know, or what's your take on epigenetics? What is this new science? Epigenetics.
I'm never going to explain it as well as Bruce does, but what I try to do, and I do this for myself. I take the information, I try to dummy it down for myself, and the people I talk to, I gotta play it in a way that they understand. So I'm up at 3 in the morning looking at these scientific data researches, and I gotta say, my kids aren't going to get that. So I go into the real world where they're at, and we talk a different language. So
okay, so let's use some nice, good, comfortable, safe South Philly vernacular to explain.
I'm North Philly, but that's okay.
Well, that's a different world. Okay, so let's use North Philly vernacular. We'll use our common folk language to explain. All right, give me the epigenetics for dummies description.
Get your head out of your ass. That's how exactly. If you're doing dumb things, I'm going to come at you that way. If you tell me you want to be a professional ball player and you're not doing the things that I know that it takes to get there, that's exactly the kind of comment you're going to get from me. And then we can talk about it, because they'll say, what are you talking about? And then maybe we've opened the door now that we can start discussing this stuff. So epigenetics, to cut it short, is our science, as we were talking about, that we're being taught in schools, our kids are being taught, and we're paying thousands and thousands of dollars, is we thought the genes were everything, and Bruce does a much better, elegant job than I do on this. But he was one of the original stem cell research guys back in the late 60s. You remember that, the Amazing Mets and all those people. So he does some great work in explaining how the cell, they used to think the nucleus was the brain of the cell, but when you take the nucleus out, which the cell should die, the cell continues to live for another two and a half months. And when you put that cell in another environment, the cell changes to match the environment. So what is the reasoning behind this? He's shown that our cells have receptors, okay? And we're constantly broadcasting with these cells, and we're receiving, we're transmitting. We're like a radio, okay, or a television device. And I get into and you really want to hear my explanation on computers because it explains it a little bit better. But we are who we are because of how we interpret the environment. Because when we change the environment, the cell changes, the neurochemistry in your brain changes, your heart changes, because you interpret the data differently. What we talked about energy and information. When you have the right information of who you are, instead of being led to believe a lie that you're not worthy, you're not good enough, that's a bunch of cow cookies, okay? And we need to change.
That's not Philly vernacular. That's not Philly vernacular. You're really cleaning it up.
Colonel Potter, or horse hockey, whatever you want to he used. But so what I try to do is I try to make it fun, where it's not so, as Einstein would say, spooky science. I think our scientists are doing a great job nowadays of explaining the invisible. And I will tell you that everything that we do right now with our devices, I have one of these right here, cell phone, right? Does anyone not plug that in somewhere along the way so they continue to have the energy to keep using it? No, they plug it in. I do it at night, whatever. So we, as a species, as an organism, okay, we have to plug back into our power. And that's where that red ops comes from, that mindfulness. We have to plug back into the field, as scientists are calling it now. Now, you've heard of the movie The Matrix?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Well, The Matrix should not, when we come into the library, it shouldn't be found in fiction. The Matrix is real. It's in the wrong section. It should be in the science section. So, you call it the field, you can call it God.
What's a library?
The library? Yeah, I know, right? Well, everything's online, but there are still physical libraries. You walk through the door, and, the science and the devices that we're on today, the fact that we're talking the way we're talking, okay, we're using the energetic field that we didn't even know existed. How long ago? 100 years ago? Like, what the heck are you talking about? I can pick up my phone and talk to somebody in Australia and see their face, or someone like yourself in Arizona. They think you were nuts, just like they may think, the new science coming in may be nuts, but it's not. It's all this is doing, this gadgetry is mimicking the energy that's available to all of us as a human being, as an organism.
Why is it called epigenetics?
Epi means get in front of your genes. So by the fact that genes do not determine everything. It's a good starting point of where you're at right now, but you change your mind, the way you think, you change your environment. That's epigenetics. The cell begins to change. And before, that was never taught. It's being taught now at a snail's pace, because do you know how much it would cost to change the curriculum of all science books in the world?
Wow.
There's all kinds of agendas here. But anyway, we're cutting edge, Chris, what we do. So this is why you have your podcast.
Right on, man.
So if I could, the way I explain it to the kids is, we have something in computers called the cloud, right? We got the cloud.
Okay.
Everybody understands that unless you're just really old. And You're not even on the cell phone, okay? But you have the cloud. So people that know what the cloud is, it's basically where you're storing your information at, correct?
Yeah,
You're typing it in here, and you're on the same frequency as the cloud, because the cloud is storing everything you're putting out, okay? As a person, as a human, we have our own cloud. It's where all our dreams are. It's where all our gifts are. It's whatever we're putting out in our environment is stored in the cloud, okay? If you can picture that as a computer mechanism, okay? So if you're putting out, if you have an emotional scale, and let's go from depression to rage to anger to disappointment to hope to passion to appreciation, you work your way up the emotional scale. If you're living your life in anger and frustration and those types of frequencies, and we now can measure frequencies, you know, they're affiliated with emotions, you're putting that in your cloud. And so that when you want to see something different in your life, and what you put into your cloud is what it is, there's no way something new can show up in your life until you change the way you think and feel, okay, to create a different composition of what you're putting in the cloud. But only then will you get back in your life when you're matching up those frequencies. So if you want to be rich, you want to have a great relationship, you want to play professional sports. Yes, there's a human body element. There's no question about it. The muscles move so fast, whatever. But the bottom line is you can achieve so much more when you understand that what you're putting out every day goes into the cloud. And if you want to be a millionaire and you're in a disappointing phase, and you're every day you're getting up and it's saying, oh God, I'm psyched, you're saying, oh God, another day. Two totally different mindsets. That frequency, because when you want to be a millionaire, you're creating that in passion. That's a good feeling, right? But in despair and misery and fear, you're on a totally different frequency of the emotion that you created this millionaire status in, and it's never going to find you. Not going to happen. And this is why I don't like to just motivate people and not give them this information like we're getting on your show right now. When they have the information, the people take their power back, and that's what I'm all about.
Amen, brother. That's beautiful. I love that analogy. I've not heard that before. I love that. I'm going to use that. Can I steal that from you?
We're cutting edge, Chris. This is how we roll here in Philly. I got this thing going for the Eagles. You can see what they're doing right
Yeah,
now, right?
baby. Thank you for alienating all the Dallas fans that are watching this. I did it first. I started it, and I'm proud of it. Come on.
Yeah. No, I grew up with Roger Staubach and all those guys, and I'm not getting on an Eagle soapbox, but they are passionate here, no question about it.
Right on. Well, I'm going to come back for another game, so we'll have to get together.
Yeah.
So the best place to reach you
is on my webpage.
Yeah. Okay.
Bushbecks, Bushbecks, Red Ops, REDOPS.com. You can reach me there, and then whatever you need, I go out and I do private talks with people. I do group motivational speaks, but I call them inspirational speaks. My dog's grabbing my arm right now. It's always something going on. Right?
That's brilliant.
Get off.
Folks,
I need to be fit.
I don't know if it's a trailer or what, but the video you got on your homepage, it's badass. I really encourage the listeners to go to the website and scroll down a little bit, and then it's like the size of the screen. Just click on it and it plays about 2.5 minutes. That's kick-ass, man. I got some goosebumps listening to that. It's good stuff.
I've been doing this for 40 years in the field, being an athlete all my life, coach, father of three beautiful, happy children. I can't listen to that I know is not correct, and I know what works, and I'm not going to, stop preaching that, because I want you to be successful, and I'm not going to let you settle for less than what you need to know.
Beautiful. I love it. Thanks, brother. I really appreciate your time, man.
Chris, great being on your show, and look forward to seeing it.
And I look forward to your book and your movie coming out in the next several months.
Yeah, that's the way we're rolling. So hopefully someone can digest all this and put it on paper. I'd be really appreciative.
Right on, brother. All right, keep up the great work. Thanks, brother.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Good talking to you.
You too, man.
Bye-bye.